Are there times when your business needs to issue one check to multiple payees for work on a project? Let's find out how to create joint checks in Sage Intacct Construction. In this video, you learn how to configure accounts payable and assign permissions related to joint checks, how to specify payees on an accounts payable bill, and how to pay bills with joint checks. The Joint Checks feature is only available for construction subscribers. You enable this setting in Accounts Payable configuration by selecting the Enable Joint Checks checkbox in the Enable Functionality section. As for user permissions, the Joint Checks workflow involves the Bills and Pay Bills tasks in Accounts Payable. For the Bills task, you have to be able to edit an existing bill to specify joint payees. For the Pay Bills task, you need run permissions so that you can select the bills to pay and assign the joint payee on the payment. The permissions listed here are only available to the business user type. Here's an overview of the general workflow. On any existing accounts payable bill, you edit it to add joint payees. If the bill is the result of converting a purchasing subcontract or purchase order into a purchasing invoice, you still need to edit the AP bill to add joint payees, because you cannot specify joint payees on purchasing documents. In the Pay Bills task, you select the bills to pay by joint check. At that time, you can assign the joint payee to the entire payment, or to each entry line. Let's examine this workflow in Sage Intacct. This is a purchasing invoice for Tip Top Electrical, a vendor set up in Sage Intacct. The total invoice is broken out into 3 lines. Tip Top Electrical had 2 other subcontractors work under them, ABC Electrical and Ferguson's Electrical. They are not set up as vendors in Sage Intacct, but their name needs to be shown as a joint payee when you issue a check to Tip Top Electrical. You also want a record of the joint check payment in Sage Intacct. The purchasing document does not have a dedicated field to store the joint payee information, so in this demonstration, the information is entered as a memo on each entry line. This is passed on to the accounts payable bill as reference. Let's go to the AP bill related to this purchasing invoice. On the Posting Details tab, select the AP bill to view it. In the Entries section, notice how the total bill is broken out, and the memo that carried over from the purchasing invoice. In order to show Tip Top Electrical and the other subcontractors as payees together on the payment, you have to add the joint payee names to the bill. Use the Joint Payees tab to do so. Select Edit so that you can type in information. The first joint payee is ABC Electrical. When you press Tab or Enter, Sage Intacct automatically enters the joint payee name and the vendor name as the print as. Let's enter the second joint payee, Ferguson's Electrical. If a joint payee was entered in error, you can remove it. However, if you've paid this bill with a joint check issued to the joint payee, Sage Intacct does not let you delete that joint payee from the bill. Post to update the bill with the joint payee information. Now let's pay the bill. You can go to the Pay Bills task directly, or go to the Bills tasks to pay a specific bill. This is the bill. If you have more joint payees to add, edit the bill to add them. From here, you can select to pay this bill. Make sure to change the payment method to joint check. When the payment type is joint check, Sage Intacct returns only those bills for which there is one or more joint payees. This means, if you had neglected to enter the joint payee on the AP bill, That bill will not appear here. If you enter the amount to pay in the grid, Sage Intacct records the payment to the vendor, Tip Top Electrical, as the sole payee. Use payee details, or line details, to specify the payment amount to joint payees. Let's examine payee details first. This lets you allocate the amount to pay for the entire bill. The payee details screen lists all the joint payees from the AP bill record. Enter the amount to pay for each joint payee option. If you want to pay your vendor, Tip Top, by themselves without another payee on the check, enter the amount to pay in line 1. When you allocate the amount to pay in the payee details screen, the allocation is based on the AP bill amount, and not specific to an AP bill entry line. Let's cancel this screen and examine line details. This option lets you allocate the amount to pay by bill entry line. Each line here is an AP bill entry line. If you want to track the joint payee by AP bill entry line, select Payee Line Details to assign it. The payment for line 1, $6,300, should be made out to Tip Top Electrical and ABC Electrical. Notice the header shows that this is for line 1, $6,300. The payment should be made out to Tip Top Electrical and ABC Electrical. Enter the amount to pay. Let's save and finish the assignment for the other two lines. For line 2, the payment should be made out to Tip Top Electrical and Ferguson's Electrical. Enter the amount to pay. Tip Top Electrical is the sole payee for line 3. If you need to make a correction to the amount payable to joint payees, use payee details or line details. When you type in the amount to pay in the pay bill screen, it overwrites your previous entries and makes the amount payable to the vendor as the sole payee. Let's complete the pay bills process. Let's verify the payment request. There are 3 separate payments, based on how the line amounts are allocated to the payees.